Have you ever spent ages crafting this perfect plan, like every detail nailed down, and then reality just crashes the party, sends the whole thing sideways? Or maybe, a task that seems totally straightforward suddenly just unravels into this crazy, complex mess.
Yeah, that tension, right, between the stability we want and the chaos the real world often throws at us. It's something we all deal with.
Okay, let's unpack this because that split really gets to the heart of our deep dive today. We're looking at two fundamentally different ways we approach work. And these approaches, they profoundly shape how organizations operate, everything from team structures to how big companies react to change. So our mission today, explore the history behind these mindsets often called waterfall and agile, figure out where each one really shines, and crucially, understand why dynamic adaptability isn't just a nice to have anymore. It feels absolutely critical, especially with AI changing things so fast. Our deep dive pulls from various sources, articles on organizational effectiveness, some practical guides, even discussions about interacting with AI.
And maybe we should start with a pretty stark warning about AI. It's not just about automation. It's potentially a massive bias amplifier. Think about this. A company rolled out a support bot. Response times dropped, boom, 3 hours down to 30 seconds. Huge win, right?
Sounds amazing.
Until customers started leaving. Fast.
Mhm.
See, the original human system was a disaster. Unclear priorities, tickets bouncing around, no real ownership. Humans kind of worked around the chaos. But the AI, it followed those dysfunctional rules perfectly. It essentially weaponized the mess.
Wow. So the AI wasn't broken, it was just too good at following bad instructions.
Yeah, exactly. It perfectly magnified the existing dysfunction. I've seen this again and again, like a logistics company optimizing routes using AI, but their data, total garbage, old addresses, wrong package weights. Drivers had been manually correcting this stuff for years.
Ah, but the AI wouldn't know that.
Nope. It just optimized based on the bad data. Or in finance, an AI trained on biased loan approvals starts rejecting applications by ZLP code with chilling consistency. It scales up institutional bias. The real nightmare isn't AI making bad choices. It's that it makes your existing bad choices faster, more confidently, and makes them harder to even question. And it all looks like progress. Until, well, it really doesn't.
That really underscores why systems thinking isn't just some academic exercise. It feels like the only way to use AI responsibly. Executives really need to get this. AI is not just faster computing, it's a different beast entirely. There's a good example, though, a company building a resume screener. Before they launched, somebody actually asked, hey, what if this learns to only like grads from 5 specific schools?
Smart question.
Right. They checked the data, found a strong bias, hit pause, rebuilt their whole hiring logic, then trained the AI, adding review loops and alerts. That's responsible AI in action.
And there are practical steps to get there. First, you got to map your system honestly. What are the workflows? Sure, but also the hidden values, the assumptions baked into your data. Second, ask those tough questions. If this scales, what gets reinforced? Who might be excluded? What patterns could accelerate? Third, design your safety nets now. If certain metrics go haywire, what shuts it down? Who gets the alert? Always build in an ethical circuit breaker with human oversight.
A circuit breaker, I like that.
Yeah. Fourth, widen your review team. Bring in people who actually live with the consequences. Listen to their paranoia in AI. That paranoia is often insight, maybe even foresight. And last, stay humble. Seriously. The second you think your model is unbiased, you stop checking. That's when the real harm starts. Managing bias isn't a one-off fix, it's ongoing. So the companies that will truly thrive with AI, they won't necessarily be the fastest. They'll be the most reflective, the most curious. The ones asking, what are we really amplifying here? Because AI isn't magic, it's a mirror.
Okay, so AI as a mirror, reflecting our own systems, flaws and all. How do we move from seeing those fragmented reflections to seeing the whole picture? To counteract that bias, I remember hearing about a product launch that just imploded. Mobile app, perfect. Backend, flawless. Marketing, spot on.
So what went wrong?
Everything collapsed because nobody had asked the simple question. What happens when all these perfect parts actually try to talk to each other?
The integration points?
Exactly.
Right.
It wasn't a technical failure, it was cultural. Brilliant people working in their own little silos, optimizing their corner of the world, completely unaware that their kingdom was part of a much larger map. The trap is assuming someone else is thinking about the whole system.
Which is precisely why systems thinking needs to be, democratized. It can't be some elite skill only architects have. You need to embed a simple habit. What happens next? Train teams to constantly think beyond their immediate task about the ripple effects down the line.
How do you build that intuition?
Practical things help. Build visual maps. not diagrams buried in some wiki, but living maps on whiteboards or digital tools showing the handoffs, the dependencies, how load behaves. Rotate people. Have back-end engineers spend time with the front-end team. Get platform engineers listening in on customer support calls. Empathy and systems awareness just skyrocket. I saw a team, initially resistant to rotation, spot a critical change 3 months later that would have broken a partner integration,
Yeah.
prevented a major outage. Why? Because they started seeing the system, not just their individual tasks.
And connecting this back to AI.
It becomes non-negotiable.
Yeah.
If your teams think in silos, AI will optimize those silos. It'll make them deeper, more tangled. If they think in systems, AI becomes a force multiplier for resilience, for adaptability.
Yeah.
The company's pulling ahead or building these connected, adaptive cultures.
So to actually see the system, especially its hidden inefficiencies, there's a specific tool you mentioned, value stream mapping. One source really hit this home. Most companies track effort, how busy people are, but very few track wait time. And wait time, that's what kills efficiency. The example was stark. A customer suggests a new feature. Okay, total effort to build it, maybe 23 hours, sounds reasonable. But the total time from suggestion to live? 7 weeks. Because of backlog queues, QA waits, release schedules, the actual efficiency, a shocking 1.5%.
1.5%. It's staggering when you see it laid out.
Yeah.
And value stream mapping, fundamentally, isn't about documenting who does what. It's about following the journey of the work itself. Where does it flow smoothly? Where does it get stuck? Where does it just sit and wait? It makes all that invisible waste suddenly painfully visible.
So how do you actually do it? Where do you start?
Keep it focused. Start with one specific value stream that's causing pain, say from bug report to live fix. Then start at the end and walk it backward. For each step, capture what actually happens here. How long does the work itself take? That's the effort. How long does it wait before or after? That's the delay. And critically, how often does it flow smoothly versus getting blocked or needing rework?
Okay, walking it backward. That's interesting.
It helps avoid assumptions about how things should work. I mapped a deployment pipeline once. On paper, looked great. 15-minute automated deploy. Awesome. The reality, the total cycle time from code commit to production was 4 days. Why? An average 8-hour wait for code review. Test environments blocked 60% of the time. Deployments only ran Tuesdays and Fridays.
Ouch. So the map reveals bottlenecks you might not even realize exist.
Precisely. And that code review delay, it wasn't just one team's problem. It rippled out, delaying everything. This is where systems thinking connects back in. The root cause wasn't slow reviewers. It turned out junior team members weren't submitting code confidently because critical architectural knowledge lived only in a few senior heads. Silos again.
So the fix wasn't faster reviews.
No. The fix was better knowledge sharing, things like regular design sessions, paired programming. You start seeing these feedback loops too. Teams increasing batch sizes to save time on deployments.
Which sounds logical.
But it led to more complex testing, which caused longer waits in QA, which meant feedback took longer, leading to even bigger batches next time to try and compensate. A vicious cycle. Sometimes the map just recreates change by itself. Denial fades fast. I saw a senior manager literally go pale when the map showed his one-day approval step was actually averaging 11 days in reality.
So practical advice for getting started.
Pick one workflow that everyone agrees is painful. Get the people who actually do the work in a room or on a virtual whiteboard. Use sticky notes. Map it step by step. Crucially, no hierarchy, no blame game. The goal is shared understanding, not perfection on the first try. And resist the urge to jump straight to solutions. First, ask why the process evolved this way. Understand the original intent. Connecting this back to AI again. AI can speed up individual tasks, sure, but if your overall system is 90% waiting time, optimizing a task gives you almost nothing. Worse, you might optimize the wrong thing entirely. Value stream mapping helps you see your system as this living, breathing organism, not just a static assembly line.
Okay, so we've mapped the system, we see the delays, the bottlenecks. Now, how do we fundamentally tackle the problems themselves, especially the ones built on old assumptions? This brings us to first principles thinking. It sounds maybe a bit philosophical, but it's incredibly practical. It helps teams break through those roadblocks that seem completely immovable.
It's a survival skill, really, as work gets more complex.
I remember hearing about a team stuck debating how to fix their broken deployment pipeline. Suggestions flying everywhere, more automation, different tools, reorganizing teams.
The usual suspects.
Right. Until a new team member, maybe naive or maybe brilliant, just ask, sorry, but why do we deploy this way in the first place? Complete silence.
Been there. That question can stop everything.
They'd been optimizing this inherited process for years without ever stopping to ask if the whole approach even made sense anymore.
And that is the essence of first principles thinking. You break a problem down to its most fundamental truths. Things you know are true, independent of convention, tradition, or current tools. Then from those basic truths, you rebuild your understanding, your solution, from the ground up.
How is that different from just, looking at how other companies solve similar problems?
That's reasoning by analogy, which is efficient. We do it all the time, see what worked elsewhere, adapt it. But it can also mean inheriting their assumptions or missing a solution unique to your context. First principles makes you pause. It forces you to ask, what are we really trying to achieve here? What constraints are genuinely real versus ones we've just assumed or inherited? If we started today, from scratch, knowing what we know now, what would we build? Would it look like this?
Can you give an example of that in practice?
Sure. I worked with a team drowning in tests, layers upon layers. Adding a new feature took weeks just to get through testing. Felt slow, brittle. Applying first principles, they asked, okay, fundamentally, what outcome do we want from testing? The answer, confidence that our changes don't break existing functionality for actual users.
Not just run all the tests.
Exactly. Then the next question, what is the minimum set of evidence we need to achieve that confidence? That unlocked a realization. They found most of their tests validated internal implementation details, stuff users would never see or care about, rather than actual user-facing behavior or value.
So they were testing the wrong things.
Or at least over-testing the less critical things. By refocusing on tests that simulated real user journeys and validated core value propositions, they slashed their test suite by something like 60%. And guess what? Their actual confidence in releases went up, not down.
That's powerful. And it feels very aligned with agile values, doesn't it? Like working solutions over comprehensive documentation or responding to change over following a plan.
Absolutely. It's about constantly asking, does this activity, this process, this rule still serve our actual goals? Or is it just ceremony we've carried forward?
So it's not about just tearing everything down randomly, but about being intentional, understanding what's truly necessary and being willing to adapt, rebuild, or discard what isn't serving the core purpose anymore.
Precisely. I saw a startup, fairly early stage, building this incredibly complex microservices architecture. Why? Because that's how modern applications are built. It's what Google does, right?
Right, the analogy trap again?
Yeah. They had maybe 50 active users at the time. We applied first principles. Okay, what problem does microservices actually solve? Things like independent scaling, team autonomy, separate deployment cadences. Do you, as one small team working on one core product for a handful of users, need to solve those problems right now? When they reframed it like that.
Let me guess they didn't need it.
Not yet. They consolidated back into a well-structured monolith. Their deployment time plummeted, and their feature delivery speed tripled almost overnight. First principles thinking is fundamentally anti-assumption. It interrogates why things are the way they are and ruthlessly prunes what no longer makes sense. Because every hour spent maintaining complexity you don't need or following a rule whose purpose is long forgotten is an hour you're not spending delivering actual value.
That idea of inherited complexity is interesting. Assumptions layered on top of assumptions over years.
Exactly. Decisions made by people who aren't even here anymore, solving problems that might not exist today. It's like organizational plaque buildup. You need to go beyond just the 5 whys. Don't just ask why something exists, but why do we believe it must exist this way? What value does this provide today?
Can you share another story on that?
Financial services team. Couldn't deploy during business hours. Hated the weekend releases, obviously. We traced it back, asking why at each stage. The bedrock assumption they finally hit, well, that's just how it's always worked here. The real blocker wasn't technical. It was the unquestioned assumption that some service downtime during deployment was unavoidable.
And was it?
Nope. 6 months later, focusing on techniques for zero downtime deployments, they were happily deploying during business hours. You have to ask, is this constraint physical, like gravity? Or is it policy? Who decided on that policy? What problem was it solving then? Does that problem still exist now? What would actually break if we removed it? So often, policy masquerades as an immovable boulder.
And seeing the whole system, like with systems thinking, must help identify those assumptions.
Definitely. A high-altitude view makes patterns and long-standing assumptions more visible. Another quick one, publishing group. Couldn't release new content without 3 separate levels of approval. Took weeks. Painful. Asking what is the approval actually trying to achieve, revealed the core issue wasn't legal compliance, as many assumed. It was a lack of trust between departments.
Ah, a people problem masked as a process problem.
Classic.
Yeah.
The solution wasn't tweaking the approval workflow, it was building trust through clear content guidelines and shared style guides. That allowed them to move to a single-level review, increasing speed tenfold.
So how can listeners start applying first principles practically?
First, and this is crucial, you need psychological safety. People have to feel safe asking why, without fearing they'll sound stupid or challenge authority inappropriately.
That's foundational.
Absolutely. Then try introducing assumption hunting sessions. Maybe pick one annoying policy or slow process per iteration or per month. Ask those questions. Why this? Who decided? What problem solved? Still exist? What if we stopped? You can make it fun too. Use prompts like the alien anthropologist. Imagine an alien observing your team. What baffling rituals would they see? Or, if we were a startup, how would you solve this today with zero baggage? Or, explain it to a 5-year-old if your explanation ends with, well, that's just how we do it, bingo. You found an assumption.
I like the alien anthropologist one.
It works, and remember, nothing is sacred. Even regulations often specify the outcome you need to achieve, not the exact steps you must take. That gap between the required outcome and your current process, that's opportunity. Just be mindful of the traps. You don't want paralysis by analysis. Don't discard genuinely hard-won lessons from the past. Don't break existing stability without a plan. And avoid making it about blame. Frame it as evolution, not critique. Start small, build momentum with small wins.
Okay, this is all building towards a really interesting point about how the nature of the work itself dictates the best approach.
Exactly. These mindsets, systems thinking, first principles, they enable different ways of handling work. Let's contrast two fundamental approaches. First, think about static work. Its roots go way back. Think ancient civilizations building pyramids or cathedrals. The vision was crystal clear up front. You could map out the entire blueprint before laying a single stone.
Highly predictable.
Highly predictable. Then came the industrial age factories needing incredibly repeatable processes, tight control, economies of scale. Predictability was paramount. In this world, comprehensive upfront requirements made perfect sense. You operated under the assumption you could know everything or close to it at the start. Get it right the first time, was the mantra.
So mistakes were seen as failures of planning.
Pretty much. The goal was unwavering perfection against the plan. Optimize for predictability, minimize cost variance. Work got broken down into specialized roles, rigid departments, clear handoff like that classic assembly line. People were brought to the work. You needed deep expertise in one specific area, what we sometimes call I-shaped skills. Flexibility wasn't the primary need.
And this is the world where traditional project management and waterfall methodologies were born and excelled.
Precisely. Waterfall has those distinct linear phases. Gather all requirements, create a detailed design, build it, test it thoroughly, then release. The core assumption is that each phase is fully completed and correct before the next begins. And for work that is genuinely predictable and stable, this approach is fantastic. It minimizes risk, controls cost, and can achieve incredibly high quality and efficiency through repetition.
But the key is predictability.
Absolutely. Discovery and emergence, learning new things, or encountering unexpected challenges midstream are viewed as problems in this model. They're disruptions to the plan, maybe even signals of failure in the initial planning. Change requests become the enemy. Documentation is the anchor, the source of truth, the mechanism for control. Though, reality check, it can get outdated fast. And once the project is delivered, the work is seen as done, finished, forever.
Okay, so that's the static world. What's the alternative?
The alternative is embracing dynamic work. And this is where Agile comes into play. Agile didn't just appear out of nowhere. It emerged specifically to tackle a completely different kind of problem. Work that is inherently complex, where requirements are fuzzy or constantly changing, where you're operating under high uncertainty, and where you simply cannot know everything up front.
Like software development often is.
Exactly. Think back to the dot-com era. Teams were forced to create detailed plans and estimates for things that were fundamentally unknowable. It led to spectacular project failures because predicting every feature and timeline months or years in advance was impossible.
So Agile starts by acknowledging that uncertainty.
Yes. It accepts that you can't know everything at the start. New information will emerge. Customer needs will evolve. Market conditions will shift. So instead of fighting change, you build a system designed to leverage it. Feedback loops become absolutely essential. Think about designing a new mobile app. Users often don't really know what they want until they see something, interact with it.
Right. You need to get something in their hands quickly.
Precisely. Rapid, continuous feedback fuels learning. It helps you steer, adjust direction, and crucially avoid wasting tons of effort building the wrong thing perfectly. It's like that cross-country road trip analogy.
Mm.
You know your destination, say, California, but you don't have a minute-by-minute itinerary planned 6 months out. You need constant feedback from the road traffic jams, weather changes, maybe a cool local diner someone recommends.
You adapt as you go.
You adapt. Agile embraces this. You work in small, iterative increments. Each increment delivers a usable piece of value, and it generates feedback, new learning, that informs the next increment. The work itself becomes a dynamic process of continuous learning and adaptation, and this is the vital link to product and service management. Unlike a project with a defined end, products and services are living systems. They're never truly done. They need ongoing care, improvement, continuous adaptation to stay relevant and valuable in the face of changing customer needs and market dynamics. It's a continuous flow, not a finite project.
That fundamentally changes how you organize teams then.
Completely. Instead of bringing specialized people to temporary project work, Agile focuses on bringing the work to the team. You build stable, long-lived, cross-functional teams. These teams have a broad range of skills needed to deliver end-to-end value. They're empowered with autonomy, creativity, and the ability to solve problems collectively.
You mentioned different shapes of people earlier.
Right. The static world often favored I-shaped, deep specialist, or maybe T-shaped, specialist with some breadth. Dynamic, agile environments thrive with more E-shaped individuals, people with deep expertise, but also strong exploration skills, broad experience, and the ability to execute effectively across different areas. Or M-shaped, deep expertise in two or more distinct areas. Think a data scientist who's also a brilliant communicator. Or Pi-shaped broad foundation plus two deep specialization.
And AI's impact here.
AI is rapidly automating many of the routine, predictable tasks that I and T-shapes excelled at. The future of valuable human work increasingly lies in the adaptability, creativity, and cross-disciplinary problem-solving embodied by EM and Pi shapes. These dynamic teams require true collaboration, not just cooperation.
What's the difference?
Cooperation is often like that old waterfall handoff. My part's done. Here you go. It's your problem now. Collaboration means everyone is genuinely in it together, sharing responsibility, leveraging diverse skills, building trust. It makes the whole team stronger and more efficient. And planning in Agile looks different too. You ditch the exhaustive, multi-year fixed roadmaps. Instead, you focus on clear strategic direction, clear desired outcomes, but with lots of room for emergence and course correction based on learning. Agile teams plan constantly. They just do it in shorter cycles, adapting the plan continuously.
That ability to adapt quickly seems like a massive competitive advantage today. Learning faster, responding faster, recovering from issues faster. Organizations stuck in that static, predictable mindset seem destined to be left behind.
They really are.
And AI is just pouring fuel on that fire, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's accelerating the pace of change, increasing the volume and complexity of information. Static structures just can't keep up. Your work in progress, your weep, will quickly become unmanageable if you can't adapt.
Absolutely. So if you're listening and thinking, how do we start moving towards this more dynamic way of working? Regardless of your role, there are steps you can take. First, just take an honest look. What's your default mindset? Your team's default? Are your systems, your processes, your culture built for rigid control, or are they designed to embrace and leverage change? You've got to surface those underlying assumptions that guide your daily work, like automatically reaching for a 12-month Gantt chart for every new idea. Dynamic work needs room for discovery baked into the plan.
It's about changing habits.
It is. And don't just mandate new practices from on high. Start conversations. Explore the why behind dynamic approaches. Foster understanding and buy-in through genuine dialogue. Create genuinely safe learning environments. That psychological safety we talked about is key for experimentation, reflection, and improvement without fear of blame. Invest in developing and empowering those truly cross-functional teams. Cultivate those EM and Pi shapes. And maybe, just maybe, ditch those excessively detailed long-term plans for work that's inherently uncertain. Favor shorter adaptive planning cycles, maybe quarterly objectives, monthly reviews, weekly adjustments, while always keeping your ultimate desired outcome clearly in view.
You know, when you describe it like that, embracing dynamic work sounds kind of exciting. It's full of puzzles, interesting complexities to figure out, new things to learn every day.
It is.
It really taps into what makes us uniquely human, doesn't it? Our incredible ability to adapt, to innovate, to respond creatively when we don't have all the answers. Okay, so all these tools, systems thinking, value stream mapping, first principles, and these approaches, static versus dynamic, they all need a target, a direction. Which brings us to the crucial idea of the North Star for all this work. One of the sources pointed out a huge problem. So many teams, maybe even entire organizations, operate without clear, measurable, desired outcomes. They're essentially driving blindfolded, burning through time, energy, and money.
It's incredibly common and incredibly wasteful. A desired outcome, done well, is much more than just a fuzzy goal. It's a really powerful, concise statement. It has to answer two core questions. What are we actually trying to achieve? And maybe even more importantly, why does this matter? And here's the absolute game changer. It must include an objective way to measure progress and success.
So it paints a clear picture of done right.
Exactly. A vivid, unmistakable picture, and the sources emphasize. Before you even write one, ask yourself, what problem are we genuinely trying to solve? If you don't have clarity on the problem, your why becomes weak, and the whole thing falls apart.
Can you give us that contrast again? Vague versus clear.
Sure. Vague. We need to improve delivery speed significantly to keep customers happy. Okay. What does significantly mean? How do we measure happy? It's basically useless for steering. Contrast that with a clear, measurable desired outcome. Reduce average time to market for new features from 6 months down to 6 weeks. That's the what. To respond more quickly to customer needs and maintain our competitive edge. That's the why. See the difference?
Night and day. Much more concrete.
Totally. Keep them objective, keep them concise. Ideally 1 or 2 sentences, max. If you find yourself writing paragraphs, you're probably either overcomplicating it or drifting into prescribing the how. And you need to ask validation questions. Can we actually measure this objectively? Are the success criteria crystal clear? Could 2 different people interpret this outcome differently? Will we know early on if we start drifting off track?
Another example.
Instead of create a more engaged workforce. How do you measure that consistently? Try. Increase employee engagement survey scores from 65% to 85% within the next 12 months. That's your measurable what. To reduce voluntary turnover by 40%. That's the impactful why. Tied to a real business benefit. Reducing turnover saves serious money and preserves knowledge. And while numbers are often great for metrics, not every desired outcome needs a hard numerical target. Measurement can sometimes be qualitative or based on observing trends, like achieve a consistent upward trend in customer satisfaction scores over the next 3 quarters. The pattern becomes the measurable indicator.
This sounds simple, but I bet there are common traps people fall into.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest one, mentioned clearly in the sources, is inadvertently stepping into the how space. This is when leaders, often with the best intentions, start specifying their preferred solution, the exact process, or specific tools within the desired outcome statement itself.
Why is that so bad?
Well, one source bluntly called it a form of professional disrespect. You're basically telling highly skilled, expensive people, I don't actually trust your expertise to figure out the best way to achieve this.
Ouch.
Yeah. Beyond just stifling creativity and innovation because you've shut down exploration of alternatives, it erodes trust and ownership. People shift into that passive, just tell me what to do mindset, which completely clashes with agile principles, especially in product and service management, where empowering the team to discover the how is fundamental for adaptability and genuine innovation.
Okay, dictating the how is trap number 1. What else?
Another major danger is unintended consequences from metrics that are too narrow or poorly chosen. You have to think about the system effects. Like the classic example, a CEO's bonus is tied only to increasing top-line revenue by X%. What might they do? Just jack up prices across the board. They hit the number, get their bonus.
But potentially alienate customers and damage the brand long term.
Exactly. The metric incentivized the wrong behavior because it was too narrow and didn't consider the broader impact or the why behind sustainable growth.
This is fascinating. And it connects directly back to AI, doesn't it?
It's incredibly relevant. Think about prompting an AI. A vague prompt like, help me write a blog post about workplace culture is likely to give you bland, generic cliches.
More like garbage in, garbage out.
Pretty much. Now contrast that with a prompt that includes detailed context plus a clear desired outcome. For example, context. I'm writing for experienced HR managers who value actionable, evidence-based insights, not fluff. Desired outcome. Create a blog post focusing on 3 specific, actionable strategies to build a more inclusive workplace culture, that's the what, so that companies implementing these strategies can demonstrably see an upward trend in their ability to attract and retain top diverse talent. That's the why.
That gives the AI so much more to work with.
Dramatically. It refines the output immediately. You're giving the AI the same clarity and purpose you'd expect from a human team. It cuts down on wasted cycles and ensures the output is actually aligned with what you need. The desired outcome acts as an anchor for AI just like for humans.
So getting good at crafting these effective desired outcomes, it really is a skill. It takes practice, doesn't it? Discipline, maybe a mindset shift.
Definitely. It's not always easy, especially at first. But the process really boils down to those two key steps we discussed. Always, always start by rigorously identifying the problem you're trying to solve. Get crystal clear on that first. It's the foundation for your why. Then, and only then, define the what, the specific outcome that directly addresses that problem and clearly aligns with the why. And, critically, ensure it includes that objective, measurable aspect of success. It takes repetition to build that muscle.
So bringing it all together, whether you're leading a big company initiative, a small product team, or even just trying to get a useful response from an AI.
Yeah, that clarity on your desired outcome combined with thinking in systems, understanding your value stream, and questioning assumptions with first principles. It's just essential. It's essential for alignment, for focus, for actually knowing if you're succeeding. They really are that North Star, defining the what and the why, and then empowering everyone involved to figure out the best how.
So here's a final thought for you, our listeners, drawing from all this. As you reflect on your own work, are you operating more in that structured world of project management or the fluid landscape of product and service management? And maybe more importantly, how does your current approach, your mindset, your tools, your culture truly prepare you for a world where change is the only constant? A world being accelerated by forces like AI. We genuinely would love to hear your insights and examples on this. What's worked for you in defining clear outcomes? Or maybe what challenges have you faced? Have you found any little tricks or techniques that make it easier? Has your company used desired outcomes effectively to maybe bridge that gap between the business side and the delivery teams? Let us know.
And please do check out the links in the description. We put the source videos and some other great resources there if you want to explore these ideas even further.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.